Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the Online Series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are using a TornOgre team that I got wrecked by a couple of days ago on the ladder and actually went up against again in a recent episode. I didn't realize that this was actually one of the highest ranking teams from the last ranked season. It was built by a Japanese player called Indeedee. I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, as well as the team report courtesy of them, so huge shout outs to them for the team. And yeah, they were able to finish, I think, in the top 30 in the low 20s with this team on the last ranked season, which is obviously an incredible accomplishment. So yeah, I'll link to the episodes that I played against this team as well. It's really a super fun TornOgre team that has some slight deviations from what you normally expect from TornOgre. Normally on TornOgre teams, you'll see, for example, Wakamberry, Focus Sash, and Mental Orb on Tornadus, and then with Kyogre, you'll often see Choice Scarf or Sea Incense. But with this duo, you have Choice Specs Kyogre and Eject Button Tornadus. Both of those items actually go a really, really long way in helping you win games a little bit quicker. First of all, with the Eject Button on Tornadus, this is actually what completely caught me off guard when I went up against this team. The Tornadus is super bulky, so you're often able to just basically get that Tailwind up. And if, Tornadus gets hit by any attack at all that turn, you can immediately switch out, go into that Kyogre, and then just pressure with Water Spout immediately. Tsareena is also really important with this team because it blocks any priority from hitting Kyogre, meaning that your opponents, first of all, can't go for any fake outs onto it if Tsareena's out on the field. That's really important, especially when you're trying to take advantage of Choice Specs Kyogre under Tailwind. Like a single fake out, stops it from doing any damage, and then your opponent's partner Pokemon can also double up onto the Kyogre. So Tsareena is really valuable here because it gives you so much protection, and even if you don't bring it, just the mind game of having it in team preview means your opponents always have to think twice about clicking fake out or Grassy Glide, for example, on Rillaboom, or any priority attack right from turn 1 of the game. So yeah, the Choice Specs on Kyogre is a really cool item decision. This is, not something that's absolutely wild, but so many Kyogres in the format still run Choice Scarf or Sea Incense, right? So Specs gives you an extra burst in damage that players often aren't expecting. That actually goes a long way because there are a lot of Pokemon that can take a regular Water Spout. For example, Zacian, right? Zacian can take a Scarf Water Spout, or Groudon in the Sun, for example. But Choice Specs, you can actually one-shot things like Zacian and Groudon even if the Sun is up, for example, if Water Spout's at full HP. So Specs gives you a extra burst of damage, and it means that there's basically no safe switching into this Kyogre unless you have a Storm Drain user like Gastrodon. Even Pokemon that resist it, things like Amoonguss, Rillaboom, opposing Kyogres will take 40 to 50% of damage onto it. And so Specs Water Spout in rain is really truly one of the strongest attacks that you can have in this format. And so this team is really designed ideally to win games in those 4 turns that you have with Tailwind, basically. So Tailwind's going to be really important. There are theoretically games in which you don't need to bring it out. For example, against Trick Room compositions, you've got Roar with the Incineroar, and so you can roar out Trick Room users while also spamming Water Spout with Kyogre. And so, yeah, you don't necessarily always need Tailwind, but generally that's the setup you're going to want to go for. And then finally on this team, you've got Thundurus-T with Assault Vest, as well as Focus Sash, Togedemaru with Lightning Rod. We've used AV Thundurus a bunch, actually, and the last rain team we featured actually had it, so this isn't something that's super surprising at this point. It is a Pokemon that has recently been more popular in the meta, especially on these rain teams, because you get access to Weather Ball, which is a really fun move that allows you to actually hit Incineroar for super effective damage, but also just generally gives you good coverage and walls a lot of the Pokemon that otherwise threaten Kyogre. For example, AV Thundurus-T is really good into opposing Kyogre teams, as well as just giving Rillaboom a lot of trouble. As you'll note, this team is as anti-Rillaboom as possible outside of Kyogre, right? You've got Hurricane on Tornadus, you've got Incineroar with the Intimidate and Flare Blitz, you've got Y-Lens with Triple Axle and Tsareena, you've got Sludge Bomb Thundurus, right? Rillaboom can't hit Thundurus, and then Togedemaru, doesn't do that much to Rillaboom, but Rillaboom also doesn't do too much to Togedemaru in return. So it's a mark of a good team comp, right? Because it's when you look at this team, so much of it's built around Kyogre, so then it's okay, how do I support Kyogre as much as possible? You've got Tsareena to prevent the priority, and then you've got all these Pokemon that beat the Pokemon that normally give Kyogre trouble, which are Grass-type Pokemon and Electric-type Pokemon. And Thundurus and Togedemaru are both really valuable on this team because then it gives Regieleki a lot more trouble. Regieleki, typically doesn't run anything other than Electric-type attacks, and so if you bring it into the matchup, then Thundurus and Togedemaru can basically render it completely useless, forcing it to switch out, and when I actually played against this team, that was the exact issue that I ran into. So you do have to be a little bit careful. Regieleki can outspeed Kyogre, right, and so You have to look for that Tailwind setup, and yeah, like Eject can just generally be a huge nuisance for this team, and that's why you have Thundurus and Togedemaru kind of next to each other. Togedemaru is also cool because it gives you speed control via Nuzzle, so you don't necessarily have to rely on Tornadus, and it also means you can lead something like Togedemaru and Kyogre, for example. Like Nuzzle in general is just valuable. The thing about this team is also like between Nuzzle, Paralysis, and Hurricane Confusion, those can add up really quickly, so that's strong. And then Togedemaru generally is actually a pretty solid damage dealer. Zing Zap's really effective into opposing Kyogres, and you've also got Iron Head, which is especially valuable into Xerneas, for example, as a matchup. But yeah, generally just a fun utility Pokemon that also provides another way to protect the Kyogre from electric type attacks. So I've been talking about this team for a while. This is very hyper offensive. There's only one Protect on the entire team. Games are designed to go by very quickly, and it's all about getting that one big water spout, ideally, with Kyogre. So details for the team are in the description below. Huge thanks to the creator once again. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please show support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, we've got about 2 weeks of Series 10 left. I'm curious if you have any goals that you've set yourself, or you've set for yourself that you're trying to reach. For me, it's still the same goal, trying to use all the restricted Pokemon. We've got Lugia left, that'll be coming up soon. But yeah, looking forward to just continuing to feature fun teams and teams that you can climb the ladder with effectively. So let's get started. Alright, first game of the day, and it's a Zacian team, but with Dragonite and Suicune. Okay. I think if I'm my opponent, I'm going Dragonite, Suicune, Rillaboom, Zacian. I'm probably leading Rillaboom, Suicune, or Rillaboom, Dragonite. So, Tsareena is going to be really good. Just for damage output into most of my opponent's Pokemon, especially the ones I was just trying to cover for. So I think it's definitely, like, Tornadus, Tsareena, Incin, Kyogre makes sense. The only issue with Incin is, like, I'm not actually sure I need the Intimidate here. Maybe better to have something that gives me better coverage against Suicune. Especially because I can't Intimidate the Dragonite either. So this would primarily be for the Zacian. But Kyogre's Water Spout, or any water type attack from it, does so much damage into Zacian. So we could drop Incin here for Thundurus or Togedemaru. Thundurus or Togedemaru. Thundurus does more damage and can take attacks from Suicune a little bit better. It's just if Zacian is play rough. I do have Electro Web with this, though. I don't know. I mean, Incin feels like a safe pick, I guess, and it also does give me a better damage option into Zacian in the late game, so okay, I guess I'll just go with Incineroar here. Just because, I mean, a single Intimidate is always so valuable into the Zacian matchup, and, like, once again, Incin into Zacian is actually, like, a decent damage dealer, right? Like, a single Flare Blitz can actually, not KO, but chunk away Zacian for a significant amount of damage. And actually, if they have no bulk and the rain isn't up, then Flare Blitz actually theoretically could KO as well. So, yeah, we'll see how things shake up here. They are going to lead with the Rillaboom and the Zacian. Okay, so this is where, like, me having Incin as a switch-in is obviously great. The question is what I want to do on turn 1. Because if you're my opponent, are you really going to click Fake Out with Rillaboom? Because I have Tsareena out on the field, right? I could also just go for Tailwind and Triple Axle immediately. And the reason why that might not actually be a terrible play is because you can actually one-shot both of my Pokemon here. And if I get a Triple Axle off into Rillaboom, that's like the biggest water resist, right? So then Specs Kyogre can just come in and just put in a ton of pressure. So I actually kind of like that here. Yeah. Like, the main value of Tsareena is allowing me to get the turn 1 Tailwind up. And they actually switch Rillaboom out, okay. Into Suicune, okay. So, Suicune comes out. I'm going to get Tailwind up, but that's a good switch by them. Yeah, they didn't, like, get super greedy or anything. Curious if they expect, like, a Tsareena Protect here. Triple Axle is not really going to do very much damage at all, but that's fine. Any chip is good onto Suicune, I guess. And they're just going to go for Blade. Ideally, this goes into Tornadus, because then Tsareena we can just pick up 2 KOs next turn. And they do actually target Tornadus. Okay, great. So they get a one-hit KO there, but, like, I'm totally okay with that, because Tornadus has done its job, which is setting up Tailwind. All you want to do with this team is ideally win in 3 to 4 turns, right? You get the Tailwind up. Now I'm in a position where I can just launch Water Spout and attack safely. And I get to utilize all 3 turns of Tailwind with this Kyogre. And Tsareena protects the Kyogre perfectly, right? So I can just go Water Spout. The main thing with Tsareena is debating whether or not I want to go for a Triple Axle or a Grass type attack onto the Suicune slot, right? Because if you're my opponent, you can obviously protect Zacian, switch the Suicune out into Rillaboom. I'm definitely clicking Specs Water Spout here. And I don't think I want to risk my opponent getting Tailwind up, so even though it's likely they're going to switch the Suicune out, I'm still going to go for the Grassy Glide. Because Grassy Glide plus Water Spout should put anything under 50%, meaning that another double up will just KO the subsequent turn. If you're my opponent right now, what you need to do is stall out my Tailwind, so you need to protect Zacian here and basically probably switch out Zacian and sacrifice a lot of your other Pokemon in subsequent turns. So turn 1 went well for us. If they give up Suicune here for free, I really think we just win the game because you don't have enough switch like options to switch out. But I have to cover for the play of them protecting with Zacian and Tailwinding with Suicune because then the Zacian would just outspeed everything that I have, and that would be a pretty big issue. They bring in Dragonite, so that's actually perfect because we're going to just get a knockout onto that. Actually, we're not going to get a KO onto it, but that's fine. They didn't protect Zacian, though, so I would think Specs Water Spout just KOs Zacian here. Oh, my goodness. Nice. And that almost actually KO'd Dragonite from the range that it's at as well, so, yeah. It's kind of funny, you know, when I played against this team, the first time I don't think I realized it was Specs at all, and the second time I only realized that after they went for a Scald. But Specs Water Spout, a single Specs Water Spout is just absolutely demolished. It can absolutely demolish your opponents, right? And so, like, trading a Pokemon to get Tailwind up and Kyogre in safely is very worth it. And the thing I love about the Tornadus is that you have the eject button, right? So it's like, okay, even if you end up, for example, not getting KO'd, well, normally the awkward thing about Tornadus is it kind of just sits on the field. But it's like, okay, Tsareena puts on offensive pressure. Anyway, I'm just going to Water Spout here, and I think just go for a Triple Axle onto Rillaboom. They can't even go for priority Extreme Speed here because of Tsareena, and we have Wide Lens here. So, yeah, as long as we don't get super unlucky with Triple Axle, this should just be a double KO. The other question I have is whether or not Dragonite has Protect in this position. But, yeah, like, the beauty of Specs Kyogre is that it one-shots so many Pokemon under the rain. And the ability to one-shot Zacian is certainly very satisfying. So they're not going to go for a Protect or a Switch on either Pokemon. That makes sense. Specs Water Spout does over 50% to Rillaboom. Triple Axle now, each accuracy rolls 99%, so we'd have to get very, very unlucky to, yeah, not connect on all three, basically. Wide Lens on Tsareena or Weavile is, you know, really one of the most valuable items you can have because it turns Triple Axle, which would normally be, you know, just over 70% for all three hits, into an attack that's like 97% basically. So yeah, you know, it's really cool. I think like Santee's Weavile with Wide Lens in the beginning of the season really showed the value of how good that item can be. And you know, this Tsareena is a little bit bulkier as well, so yeah, we can just Water Spout and Grassy Glide. And it's the combination of Tsareena plus Kyogre, right? Because, like, when you're using Choice Specs on Kyogre, there are a lot of things that can stop it. For example, just the single priority Fake Out really disrupts it. Grassy Glide from Rillaboom, obviously, one of the biggest threats that's going to exist in the format. And then even something like Extreme Speed can chunk away at Kyogre, right? Like, so much about Kyogre is just getting these Water Spouts off while you're at full HP. If you take any damage, that obviously drastically reduces the amount of damage you do. And every little bit of HP on Kyogre really matters because it allows you to pick up KOs that, you know, you wouldn't be picking up otherwise. So, yeah, that was like the perfect demonstration of how strong Specs Kyogre can be. And I think, I don't think we've actually tried out Specs Kyogre this rank season yet. We've used, you know, Sea Incense as well as Choice Scarf. But Specs is, I think, definitely a little bit underutilized, and this team really enables Specs Kyogre to thrive as much as possible. So, yeah, that was definitely a really fun first one, and let's just keep it going. Alright, second match of the day, and this one's up against Xerneas. Now, they have Regieleki here, right, which is definitely where Togedemaru and the Thundurus-T are designed to thrive against. This one's a little bit tricky. Like, I've got Roar here on the Incineroar, so that's valuable into Xerneas. Specs Kyogre does so well damage-wise. Like, we will, because we're max speed here, we will outspeed Regieleki under Tailwind. What is my opponent leading here? I mean, Tornadus here also has Taunt, right? So it's like, I can taunt the Xerneas, but they could definitely go with the Indeedee plus Xerneas, which is a little bit scary for me, I think. How do I stop Indeedee plus Xerneas, actually? It would actually be TornOgre, just Tailwind Water Spout. I could go TornOgre, Tsareena for the switch in. I just think it's going to be very difficult to actually get a Roar off in this game with Incineroar, so I don't want to bring that as much. And I think Togedemaru is actually probably it here because I've got Iron Head into the Xerneas, and I can also potentially go for a Nuzzle onto it. The only question then is, like, do I actually lead Togedemaru? I'm going with TornOgre, but I think you can make a very good argument for leading Togedemaru here. Just because I think it's, like, pretty likely my opponent leads Rillaboom or Regieleki. But the scary thing here is I have to cover for their offense into Kyogre, which is Rillaboom Regieleki, but then I also have to cover for Xerneas Geomancy setups, which is like Fake Out or Indeedee plus Xern. They do lead Xern, so that's Indeedee next to it. Okay, it's Rillaboom. Rillaboom's okay. Like, the thing here is, if my opponent does not expect the choice specs and I one-shot Xerneas, it's actually worth it to trade Kyogre for Xerneas turn 1. Because what I can do is just switch out Torn into Tsareena. You know, the other interesting thing here is I could even just not switch. Yeah, I could even not switch and just Hurricane Water Spout here, because if you're a Rillaboom, are you really going to click Fake Out or Grassy Glide when you know I have Tsareena as a switch in? Seems kind of risky, right? I almost want to just click Hurricane and Water Spout here. I mean, it's just risky if they actually click Grassy Glide into Kyogre, right? Because what I could also do is just switch out into Tsareena. We do have Glide on Tsareena, which actually has a lot of value for us here. I think I am just going to Hurricane and Water Spout here. Like, I have the Tsareena. You have to respect that, I think. Xern protects, which is fine. I'm expecting Rillaboom to try to go for a Wood Hammer or a, like, Drum Beating onto Kyogre. Okay, perfect. That is a fantastic turn 1. Because we just eliminated the biggest threat to Kyogre, right? Nice. This is the beauty of having Tsareena. I don't necessarily have to switch it in. If I wanted to be 100% safe, I could switch it in there, but, you know, if you just go for a priority Fake Out or Glide there and I switch in Tsareena, like, you'll lose so much momentum with the Rillaboom. Now, the reason I was thinking maybe my opponent's worth, like, what you could do in that position is go for, like, Glide onto Kyogre and a Geomancy, but then you risk a Taunt onto Xerneas and then a Tsareena switch in, right? But then the thing is, I'd be stuck on the field with, like, Tornadus and Tsareena probably, so maybe that's not even that bad of a trade-off. But that was one in which, like, yeah, it was kind of a high-risk, high-reward play on my end, but that was a risk that I was willing to take. They bring in Kyogre now, which is perfect, right? Because I can, or sorry, Incin, which is perfect, because now I can just, I think I'd rather taunt into Xerneas to make sure Geomancy doesn't go up, so we can taunt the Xern, and then now switch into Tsareena on this slot. Because now I've paved the way for Kyogre to sweep the late game with Water Spout, I think. So as long as I make sure Xerneas doesn't get Geomancy up, we should be in a really good position. It's just because with Geomancy, like, I'm not sure if Specs Water Spout one-shots is the issue, right? So they go for Fake Out. Yep, Queenly Majesty blocks it. I could have also switched this the other way, which was switching the... Actually, that was probably fine. The reason why I think it was fine is because we have Grassy Glide on this thing, but I think I do have to respect my opponent's last Pokemon being the Indeedee. Anyway, now I'm safe to click Tailwind and Grassy Glide onto Xerneas. Because now, with Rillaboom eliminated, we should just be able to bring out Kyogre and then just Water Spout away with it. I would expect Indeedee as the 4th here. Yeah. So, the thing is, let's say I Water Spouted last turn and switch Tsareena in for Tornadus. I would knock out the Incin. I'd get decent damage on the Xerneas, but then the thing is, the Xerneas would be Geomancied up, and then Grassy Glide doesn't have the Prio anymore. So the main thing here I felt like was just to try... Oh, but they're gonna... Oh, I should have hard switched there, I think. Because this is actually gonna let them get Geomancy up now. Alright, this is where I need to bring Togedemaru out now, I think. Yeah, I should have hard switched something there. Okay, now if you're my opponent, you're gonna probably follow me with the Indeedee, which is fine. I'm gonna Hurricane into that slot. Actually, I mean, I don't mind going for Hurricane on Xerneas if for some reason they don't follow me, because the ship damage and also Fishes for a Confusion. The issue is that Tornadus is slower than Tog here, right? Oh, no. The way it's EV'd, it's not. Oh, that's actually really good for us. Okay. Okay, then what I want to do is Hurricane into Indeedee, switch out into Togedemaru. Yeah, with the expectation that they go follow me Geomancy here. Hurricane ideally 2-hit KOs Indeedee, and then I can Hurricane next turn for a KO and then Nuzzle the Xerneas. But let's see if they actually go for follow me. Oh, they didn't follow me. That could be an issue. Great damage from Hurricane. They do go for Geomancy. No confusion there. It's still okay because we should still be faster than Xerneas with Tailwind up right now. But, I mean, obviously don't love that. But the thing is, I don't have that much value in staying in with Tsareena because I didn't have U-turn. I guess I could have KO'd the Indeedee there, but then what do I do the subsequent turn? Yeah, they just go for Expanding Force. Okay. Okay. I actually take that pretty well. Oh, it does force my Tornadus out, right. I've got Nuzzle on this thing. I don't have priority right now. Grassy Glide, Triple Axle. I don't think Tsareena has that much value for us at this point in the game, so we probably have to sacrifice this. But yeah, Indeedee not going for follow me there was a great play, and that's going to punish me pretty heavily. The dynamic of this matchup is really interesting because so much of it is about how you position. Grassy Glide. Yeah, we're in a tough spot now. Because the other thing is, at this point, you should go for follow me with Indeedee, right? And then I would think you'd want to knock out Togedemaru. Yeah. Oh, but they go for Helping Hand. That's huge. Okay. It means I get the paralysis off. If they get full parried here, I think we win the game this turn. Either way, though, the fact that I actually get Nuzzle off is absolutely huge. And now I actually outspeed, meaning I get the knockout onto the Indeedee, which is also huge. Actually, this is a big deal either way, because now I just get Kyogre out. So even if you pick up a double KO, it's TornOgre in this end game, and Psychic Terrain is up, so you can't click Fake Out into Kyogre. We have one more turn of Tailwind left. Oh, this is so close, but I think I favored their position ever so slightly. But the fact they didn't go for follow me there and actually allowed me to get the paralysis is huge, I think. Now, if you're my opponent, you are obviously going to click Fake Out onto Tornadus. And this is where us being Choice Specs is scary, right? Because it's like, do I go for the Water Spout and just go for the burst of damage? Because they're probably going to Dazzling Gleam. And because I'm Choice Specs, I think I might have to Origin Pulse. And so then the question is whether or not a Specs Origin Pulse spread into Geomancy Xerneas, then into a single target Xerneas is enough for a KO. If Tornadus were grounded here, like, then I would probably just click Water Spout, because then I could Hurricane as well, and that little bit of damage goes a long way. So, last turn of Tailwind, they are paralyzed. Instinct can Fake Out into Tornadus because it's not grounded, thus allowing it to flinch, denying me an attack there. I take so much damage from a Gleam, right? And my opponent might Moonblast me as well. Although if they Moonblast me, then it's correct to Water Spout. I'm going to Origin Pulse here, but I don't know if that's the right call. I think Water Spout might just be better. It's so much stronger. Okay, so there's Fake Out onto the Tornadus. Yep. Ideally, they go for Dazzling Gleam here. Origin Pulse fortunately double connects, so that's the first part of the equation that's really important. Okay, a single target Origin Pulse will KO Xerneas, but the other thing is that Tailwind ends after this turn. They did just go for Moonblast. That's enough for a KO, isn't it? Then Water Spout actually was the play there, I think, because it would have done more. But then the thing is, I'm not sure Hurricane would have KO'd anyway. We still have a win con in Confusion/Paralysis right now. Because if we got a single para either turn, I think we would have won. But now it's harder, right? Because I don't have as much damage output as previously. I'm curious how much Hurricane does here, because I think Water Spout, yeah, would have won us the game. We do get the Confusion, so let's see if Xerneas is able to attack through right now. It's got to attack through both Paralysis and Confusion right now. And it does hit itself. Oh, what a wild game. Honestly, credits to my opponent, though, because they were in a really tough spot, and they found the perfect Geomancy setup. It was that one turn with Parting Shot from Incineroar that I could have botched. But I also could have just, if I had just Water Spouted, it would have done the extra little bit of damage, where I think Xerneas would have straight up just fainted. We didn't even need to rely on a Paralysis or Confusion. The main thing I was nervous about was them going for Dazzling Gleam. Water Spout doesn't KO, and then the second Water Spout just doesn't KO either, so then we really don't have an out. Whereas by going for Origin Pulse, I at least cover for the option of them going for a Dazzling Gleam in that spot. They actually managed to snap out of Confusion. Okay, they go for Protect. Is there any value in protecting there? Because if you... I guess it gives you a chance to snap out of Confusion quicker. I mean, it's the same... Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's... Because if you had just snapped out of Confusion there, you just Gleam, you would have just won the game, right? Or Moonblast. Whereas now you have to, like, potentially deal with another roll with Confusion / Paralysis. Oh, that's enough for a KO. Oh my goodness. Let's go, Tornadus. Okay, so we got a little bit lucky there, obviously, with the para, but granted, like, Xerneas was paralyzed for multiple turns, right? And so the odds of you attacking through 3 turns and not getting paralyzed on any of the 3 in itself is already not exactly the best odds. It's what? 3 cubed over 4 cubed. So 27 out of 64. So yeah, the odds of you just straight up attacking through 3 para turns in a row is not actually like absolutely amazing, right? It's actually slightly in our favor. And then when you factor in Confusion on top as well, then it's a little bit more in our favor. But the thing about that is that if I just clicked Water Spout, the Xerneas would have just fainted immediately outright. So yeah, we get a little bit lucky to win that one in the end. But I think the fact is that if they had just gone for Follow Me with Indeedee, I basically had no shot. So I was kind of surprised to see the Helping Hand come out there, because I didn't really have that much offensive pressure with Tsareena, but the fact we got the para basically gave us an opportunity. But credits to my opponent, because we obviously had a really good turn 1. Turn 2, it may have just been worth it to, I don't know, knock out Incin and get the Water Spout off onto Xerneas, even if they Geomancy, but it really felt like I needed to taunt there. So yeah, but let's get into this third game. Okay, and this one is a Kyogre team. Kyogre. They've got Rillaboom and Amoonguss. I've got Goggles on Incin, but like, do I really want to bring that out into an Amoonguss matchup? Probably not. Tsareena might be the most important Pokemon for us here, actually, because it has super effective into Kyogre, Amoonguss, Zapdos, and Rillaboom. If I'm my opponent, what Pokemon am I bringing? I'd probably go Rilla, Kyogre, Amoonguss, Zapdos. You have no reason for Incin. Or I shouldn't say no reason, actually. It's pretty good into Tsareena. It's interesting because both Thundurus and Togedemaru are pretty strong for us here. I'd also like to think that their Kyogre is a little bit slower thanks to the Porygon 2, so it might be optimized for like a little bit bulkier Trick Room oriented one. Calm Mind Kyogre isn't exactly very common, but on this team comp it actually make a lot of sense because they have Amoonguss with Pollen Puff. Zapdos is, I think, one of the primary issues for us. So I think I'm definitely going Tornadus, Tsareena, Kyogre, and then one of Togedemaru or Thundurus-T. I lean towards Thundurus-T a little bit more here. Toge is like kind of cute, but I'm not sure I need the Nuzzle. I can't paralyze Zapdos anyway, so okay. I'll go Tornadus, Tsareena, Thundurus, Kyogre. That was dangerously close, but I think we got it in on time. It's been a while since we've timed out in team preview, so yeah. Okay, so the thing here is that they generally have some bulk. They have Amoonguss, they have Zapdos, they have Porygon 2. All of those Pokemon can potentially take a Water Spout. Once again, and they have Kyogre, obviously, right? So it's like, we can't necessarily just win the game off a single Water Spout. They go with Zapdos and Amoonguss. I'm actually very okay with that. Because I've got Taunt, I've got Tailwind. I probably want to just Tailwind and Triple Axle into Amoonguss because that just paves the way for Kyogre to just click Water Spout. Oh, maybe I don't want to... I should Tailwind, right? Because T-Bolt might one-shot us. Alright, yeah, I'll Tailwind. And actually, instead of going for Triple Axle onto Amoonguss this first turn, I'm going to target Zapdos. Because if I target Amoonguss, they can just switch... Well, actually, forcing a switch wouldn't be that bad either. You know what? Yeah, I'm down to Tailwind and Axle into Amoonguss here. Oh, they actually just switch outright. Okay, that works for me. Into Incin. Okay. That's fine. The main thing is getting Tailwind. If they T-Bolt into Tornadus turn 1, they're in a awful position thanks to Eject Button. Like, even if we survive, we get ejected out. If we get KO'd, even better. So I'm really hoping Tornadus gets booted out here because it means the free switch into Kyogre. And if Kyogre comes out right now, you can't click Fake Out. So the Ensign is basically gone. Or you have to switch out into probably the Amoonguss. But they actually go for the Hurricane. Okay, nicely done. Risky, but it is able to connect. And that's a huge, huge deal for my opponent here. Yeah, well played. Okay, I'm going to protect Tsareena here because I need that priority protection right now. But the question is what I want to do with Tornadus. I like the idea of taunting the Zapdos so that it can't protect the next turn. Yeah, that's a great play by my opponent. Where it's like, even if you miss the Hurricane, it's fine. Oh, they switch Zapdos out. If it's Amoonguss coming out, that's great. They bring out Kyogre. Okay, that's also fine, I guess. But you could see how, like, this team can win in a turn, basically, if you target into the Tornadus and don't know about the eject button, which is absolutely huge. Now, the issue here is I didn't switch into Kyogre, so that's already 2 turns of my Tailwind gone. The good thing, though, is that we know they didn't bring Rillaboom, which means that I don't need the Tsareena for protection as much, which is valuable for us. Okay, so they did try to parting shot there, which is fine. I'm going to go for Hurricane and a Glide here onto the Kyogre, just to try to prevent Water Spout damage. Kyogre protecting here and Incin, like, pivoting out makes sense. No, you can't protect. We just taunted you. Yeah, so they switch back out, probably into the Zapdos. Now, the issue here is if it's Rocky Helmet Zapdos, but they actually go into Amoonguss. Oh, wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but I'll gladly take it. It's a free Hurricane. It's Koba Berry, so we get rid of the berry. That's fine. I could have gone Triple Axle in that slot as well, but I don't mind going for Grassy Glide. Although I guess it's pretty unlikely you would stay in with the Kyogre in that position. Okay, Glide comes out. They do go for Parting Shot. Now this is interesting because they have wasted 3 of my 4 turns of Tailwind, but I still have another turn. And I can potentially get a second Tailwind up. They didn't go with the Porygon or the Rillaboom route this game, meaning that I do find value in getting another Tailwind up, but they've done a pretty good job of stalling out my Tailwind this first go. I'm honestly down to just Hurricane into Amoonguss here, because they don't have any resist to it at this point, and just... I like do I even need to Triple Axle? Because T-Bolt should just KO Zapdos. Like, I'm thinking High Jump Kick here into Amoonguss as well. Okay, Amoonguss protects. That's fine, though. I don't mind that. I finally get a free switch in, ideally. I guess the question is whether or not they're T-Bolting Tornadus in this position. Because, like, you'd have to respect the Thundurus-T switch in, right? But the other valuable thing is that Thundurus-T offers me good speed control via Electro Web, which is kind of neat. It's actually Thunder. This is going to KO me. I should have switched into Thundurus-T then. Oh, it doesn't KO us. What? That's wild. Bulky Tornadus comes through. Okay, that's huge. Even though that turn looks really bad for me, it's actually fine because now I just get Specs Kyogre out next to Tornadus. I can just click Tailwind Water Spout. Once again, so much about this team is just looking for the positioning with Specs Kyogre. So Tailwind peters out, but it times out perfectly because now I just get to bring Tornadus back in. And AB Thundurus-T is pretty valuable for the late game as well. But I feel like I shouldn't have given my opponent so much mileage out of their Zapdos in this game. I guess the issue is that I'm not sure Specs Water Spout actually KOs the Amoonguss right now. It probably doesn't, to be honest. But I think I'm still going to go for this play. I guess if you're my opponent, what you could do, if you know about the team, is to Thunder and Spore the Kyogre. But they switch out. That's perfect. Yeah, now we're in a position where I can just freely launch Water Spouts consecutively. Although, I guess you could sack Zapdos here. And if you sack Zapdos, you get a free switch into Incin, meaning you can click Fake Out with the Incin. And now I don't have Tsareena for protection to block from the Fake Out, which is bad. Okay, so Water Spout demolishes Zapdos there. That's perfect. You have to bring Incin out right now. If you bring in Amoonguss, I can just Hurricane Water Spout and end the game, basically. So you bring out Incin. You, I think, would have to click Fake Out into Kyogre. Meaning I can switch Kyogre out into Thundurus-T and then Hurricane into the Kyogre slot. The reason I don't want to switch, stay in here is because, like, let's say, maybe they don't target Kyogre here. I don't know. Because the thing is, not that many Kyogres actually run Thunder, so I might actually be okay staying in here. I don't know, though. Rain's also expiring after this turn. It's just like the fear of fake out KOing and then Kyogre gets a single target attack off, but then like Thundurus is AV, so I would think we would still survive because your water spout, you can't really water spout basically. I don't know. I think you can make a really good argument for Kyogre staying in this turn, but I'm still going to make the switch out because I also want to reset the weather, right? This is the last turn of rain, and now that we've eliminated Zapdos, I don't even need Tailwind in this late game. Like Kyogre water spout in itself might just be able to, I think my Kyogre might just be able to outspeed anyway. So there's fake out. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I were my opponent's shoes, I'd actually heavily consider clicking fake out onto the Tornadus slot there. We even get the confusion, which is super nice. Tornadus has been incredibly clutch today. Okay, and unfortunately for them, they hit themselves in confusion. Yeah, Hurricane is just so good for that reason. I think we were still in pretty good shape either way, because if you knock out Tornadus there, I just get the free switch and back into Kyogre, and I can just, you know, keep spamming Water Spout and Sludge Bomb. But that should seal up the game for us, I think. I'm just trying to think how we win this game 100% of the time. Right now, if you're my opponent with Kyogre, you maybe switch out into Amoonguss, and then Instinct could go for a parting shot onto Tornadus. It's mainly the parting shot stuff I have to play around. I have Weather Ball, which is pretty strong, but I should respect Kyogre attacking at least in this position. Yeah, this is not over yet by any means, actually. Okay, I'm going to Sludge Bomb the Kyogre slot. And I'm actually just going to Hurricane here because I don't want to switch out into Kyogre right now. Yeah, there's the switch. Oh, I should have Hurricane into the Kyogre, though, and doubled up into that slot. That would have been smarter. Or Taunting into the Kyogre slot there. I feel like my Hurricane has very little value for me here. So it's actually probably the worst, not the worst play, but not the best play on my end by any means. Yeah, they go for Parting Shot. But this is fine, right? Because, yeah, now I can just Electro Web Hurricane, so that actually should seal it up as long as we don't miss Electro Web. The key thing here is that Tornadus is incredible offensively into my opponent's team, and what we were positioning ourselves for was a KO onto the Zapdos, because once the Zapdos faints, it just paves the way for my Kyogre. But this is a matchup in which, like, we just have an advantage because our Pokemon are faster, and us having both Thundurus-T and Tornadus with Taunt go a long way. So, yeah, I'm just going to Electro Web and Hurricane here. We did get quite lucky with the Hurricanes today. Oh, they just ended up forfeiting. Okay. Yeah, I think, like, you can still play towards an Electro Web miss, so then your play would be to protect the Amoonguss, and then just try to, if you have Origin Pulse or Scald, just go for that. So, I think maybe there's, like, one more turn to potentially play out there, since I didn't have, or, you know, you could protect Kyogre and hope for me to not Hurricane into the Amoonguss slot and go for a Spore. So, like, there is still a comeback potential that specific turn, but if Electro Web connects there, I think the game is essentially over. So, yeah. Tornadus was really clutch for us today. You can see the value of Choice Specs Kyogre is absolutely amazing, just punching holes through all of our opponents' teams today. And I was really impressed by it. And I'm also glad to bring out some of the support, like the Tsareena, the Togedemaru, the Thundurus-T were all valuable in individual games that we brought them out in. So, yeah. I really, really like this team. It's fast-paced, it's offensive, and it's a slightly different way to play Kyogre. Very similar to a lot of the other Kyogre teams we featured, but Choice Specs really gives you that extra burst in power that players often don't expect. Because often people are like, oh yeah, you know, Kyogre, it's going to have Scarf or Sea Instance. Like, I can take a Water Spout, maybe not well, but it'll do like 80% to my Zacian. But as you saw in one of the games today, Water Spout was able to just one-shot Zacian at full HP under Tailwind with Specs, which is absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah. Really fun set of games. Thank you so much as always for watching. Details for the team are in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. Alright, peace.